Hello, it's Jennifer with Underway, Drifting, and Dreaming on the motor vessel Cetus. Here she is in Echo Bay, and Jim has cleaned the tannins off the bow of the boat so we no longer have a mustache. Today we're going to go ahead and show you how we tow our tender or dinghy off the back of the boat while we're traveling through the Narrows. So what are we doing today, Jim?
We going boating?
We go boating every day.
We gotta tow our dinghy.
Alright, so we're putting our dinghy under tow. Getting everything off that we need.
So we've got a tow bridle that came with the boat. So we're gonna use that. So we're gonna attach it to the trailer eye bolt. My assistant can hand me the hook.
That one?
Whew.
Got that one back.
This one is a spare. It's not really a safety. So we're just gonna have one tow line. You don't need to have a safety. We're gonna be inland waters, short distance, 6 miles. So we'll test it out to see how it works. It's a bridle off the back of the boat. And it's a sort of a polypropylene line. I don't know if it's a Dyneema poly type line. It's a heavier duty, but the poly portion of it will help keep it float, which is good on a tow line. But the material, to me, is stronger than a poly.
Yeah, it doesn't have like the sun damage. It's not fuzzy. It doesn't have frayed like poly.
As you can see, it floats, which is important because when we stop to come to a stop and all the line will be on water, it won't go underneath and get caught in our prop. And so
This is about 30 feet, 35.
yeah, the main leg is about, I'd say about 30 feet or so.
Ow.
And then we have it connected
A shackle.
with a shackle.
Does it
Got
need
ring
a
on it,
wire
shackle,
tie or?
and a stainless steel wire tie on it.
Okay.
And this is Dyneema with the float. That'll help that float. Then it's got a shock absorber, excuse me, with the Dyneema. And then another eye, a ring, stainless steel ring with our two bridles. And then our bridles. Let's see if we got them on the right side here. It really doesn't matter, we just flip it over. Alright, so that one goes here, this one goes here. And we'll go ahead and take this off here. Actually, we'll let it drift out and see how long it actually is here.
So we still need to pull our anchor before we get underway. I think that'll be a good distance. Is there any narrows that we need to go through today that we need to?
Not too narrow, but as long as we're keeping it underway. I got the motor lifted. I don't want to spin the prop necessarily. Hopefully it'll tow right behind us and it won't yaw back and forth. But our speed, it should be fine. If we were crossing over the Bahamas or something, we'd add the second line and get it even further, 100 feet or so behind us. because then you have the swells. You want to step it with the swells. Inshore waters like this, there's no swells that, to step with. Our main concern is having it too far back and the boats coming around, but it's very common for people to tow their dinghies out here, and they're usually just about a boat length behind. Alright, we'll see how that goes and have you back here and keep an eye on it for a little bit.
Jim and I stay in constant communication wearing our headsets. We both have experience towing vessels. I have towed up to 100-foot commercial fishing vessels, all the way down to 20 feet. So both of us have experience. Jim has a little bit more experience with heavier vessels. But this is just a small tender dinghy that we can go ahead and we're going to pay out the line. And again, we're only putting out a little bit of line today since it is a Sunday and there's going to be a lot of boat traffic. And then after this day, we put on extra lines. And when we go through the Narrows or somewhere that I need to shorten the tow line, I just go down. Jim comes to idle, and I'm able to pull in that line and shorten the tow line until we get through the narrow set of buoys or a lot of boat traffic. And it's very easy to put it on the hip. So just shortening the tow line, bringing the boat in, and then I had hand up line to Jim. He leaves the helm. I use the boat hook. I hold it up. He grabs it and brings it in, and then I reach over and put a line on the stern, bringing it to my stern. So it makes it very simple and make sure that the little fenders on the tender are between the tender and our boat. And it makes it easy to anchor. And then we can get in anchorages, or before anchorages, I can jump in the tender and do a little bit of scouting or go out and stern anchor. And that becomes my job when we are anchoring in the Georgian Bay.
So what, you're doing about 3 knots right now? 2.5.
The tender's not riding directly behind us. The engine is out of the water, but the motor is actually turned a little bit, so when we put it on center line, it is a perfect tow behind the vessel. Well, here comes the Sunday traffic. Everybody is out traveling, enjoying the water. I would just walk out on deck once in a while. I just wanted to see how the tender was going to ride with all the wakes, and she does absolutely fine. This is still in the Beausoleil area, and we were only going about 6 miles today, so short tow is not a problem. But I'm just enjoying seeing all this boat traffic Friday, Saturday, and Sundays in the Georgian Bay. It is busy. And this is still pretty close to the Midland area. Once we get further into the Georgian Bay, it's less and less traffic. And then Jim can see the tow from his seat in the pilot house, and I sit on the benches behind him, and I can just turn, and I was sitting sideways, so I was looking out to the port side, so I would just turn back and I would be able to see the boat towing. should be secured while we are anchoring. That line will probably be fine back here, but take safety into consideration. Why put us in another situation of having the line in the screw and we could easily pull it up. Jim went to neutral, I brought in the line, and he attached it here. So it's in a side tow. Here's our anchorage for this evening. We are connected by headset, so everything I say, Jim hears. Thank you for taking the time to watch our videos. We are having a blast on American's Great Loop and cruising through the Georgian Bay. It is spectacular, the views. This is actually my favorite spot in the whole Georgian Bay while we are in Echo Bay. It is a lovely place to anchor, plenty of boats. And here Jim is using the tender to stern tie. So we have an anchor out and then we will go ahead and tie on the stern. So a great use of the tender besides going to Henry's Fish Camp later this day. Thank you for clicking like and subscribing. We will be making more.